movie opens up on 2 minutes of fudge factorying through credits. I gotta be honest with you, I don't think I've seen this movie all the way through in one sitting. Like, I've seen the movie, but I forgot all about the weird bull before the action gets started. Point is, they should have started with Gene Wilder and his weird introduction, and it would have saved everyone a lot of time. Also, seriously, how did these kids get out at the exact same time? I know the final bell is a celebration every day and all that, but there's some order to dismissal, right?
Man, listen, Wonka's got a new one today.
Then why the isn't that displayed anywhere? You're the candy store guy who knows exactly what each kid will want after school, but you don't have the sense to display the new to try and improve your sales?
How does he do it?
My dear boy, do you ask a fish how it swims?
No.
Or a bird how it flies?
No, you don't, because those are animals that do not and cannot speak to humans. But Willy Wonka is a human being who could actually answer a question from this kid. So get off your fucking high horse, candy store clerk, and stop being so friendly with strange children while you're at it. Yo, what's up with this free product from the Candyman? Is he just giving these kids a little taste so they'll officially become hooked over the next few weeks? Jesus Christ, how much candy are these kids gonna eat? They're going to ruin their appetites, rot their teeth, and grow hairy palms after this bacchanal. I hope this poor little girl got hazard pay for taking one on the chin here, because the actor playing the shop owner either wasn't paying attention or missed his mark. Also, I'm not going to play the music, but trust me that this guy has said Candyman well more than 5 times. Thankfully, the movie spares us the scene where Tony Todd shows up with a hook hand and cuts the shop owner's off. There's already more than enough nightmare fuel for kids here. I get that Charlie's poor and that he can't afford to buy candy treats every day like his schoolmates, but dude is just throwing candy at these kids. Get in there, Charlie. Like Alice in Chains, you have no excuses. That's like 10 papers max that Mr. Jopic is giving Charlie. What kind of paper route has that few papers to deliver?
Say hello to your Grandpa Joe.
But the rest of you people. I love talking to poor people. Where the hell is this movie set? It's like a mixture of a New York City neighborhood, an English village, and a Midwestern suburb, but there's apparently a giant candy company that calls it home. Wouldn't there be more infrastructure in place?
Up the airy mountain, down the rushing glen, we dare not go a-hunting, for fear of little men.
I would give all the sins back if we found out this guy was supposed to be on the set of a Hammer Studios production, accidentally wound up here instead, and then Mel Stewart was like, F it, let him say his lines from the other film. I'm supposed to have unsettling that will terrify the kids every 10 minutes, so we need some kind of filler here.
Charlie's late.
He works too hard for a little boy.
Or at all.
For you bedridden for the past 20 years, it takes a lot of work to keep this family going.
Okay, much has been written about the ridiculousness of these old fogies being bedridden for, these many years, but I've got to ask about the practicalities, man. Are they always in bed? How do they poop or pee? Do they f***? You think someone has f***ed in the last 20 years, even accidentally, right? What's the cause of their collective disorder? And how has no treatment or cure arisen within the last 2 decades? Has anyone even flipped them over occasionally? I can't imagine the size of those bed sores.
I'm fed up with cabbage water. It's not enough.
Dude, this will be on the menu of the local hipster restaurant tomorrow and will cost $13.50.
From now on, I'm going to pay for your tobacco.
Enabling.
Go on, Grandpa. Please take it.
Why is he giving the money to Grandpa Joe regardless of what it's for? Grandpa Joe hasn't been out of that bed for 20 years, then he's clearly not the one purchasing tobacco.
Why do you lock it?
Because all the other chocolate makers in the world were sending in spies.
I don't doubt that corporate espionage exists, or even that it's prevalent, but this motherfucker shutting the whole operation down over simple paranoia makes Elon Musk look like a well-balanced CEO.
Then suddenly, about 3 years later, the most amazing thing happened. The factory started working again.
Okay, but Charlie's been living with Joe for presumably his entire life. How has this Wonka's position not come up before now?
It's presumptuous and rude. Do I make myself clear?
Okay, let's be honest. Who the remembers anything about the first part of this movie? Or Charlie is kind of on. And even if they do, who actually likes this part? When you think about this movie, what springs to mind? The Oompa Loompas? The tour of the factory? The everlasting gobstopper? Or the science teacher being a dick to Charlie?
Now, Charlie, you take the nitric acid and the glycerine.
Giving a child the ingredients for nitroglycerin and then telling him to mix them.
And now details on the sudden announcement that has captured the attention of the entire world.
Entire world. Look, I love candy. Seriously, it's delightful. But I think there were many more things going on in 1971, or whenever this is set, that would interest the populace much more. I mean, Disney World opened in 1971. NPR started. Microprocessors were invented. Charlie Manson was convicted. But hey, free candy and Are we sure that Grandpa George didn't pass on a few months ago? There are multiple reporters around this table with mics, and not one of them picks up this conversation the fake Slugworth is having with Augustus, or no one asks who he is and why he's whispering something to a child. Also, bribing a child with food you know he enjoys. This movie's darker than even you think.
And here's a little gift from Grandpa George and me.
I don't care how wonderful Joe is, I wouldn't accept anything that's been sitting underneath those covers for any length of time.
Open it, Charlie. Let's see that golden ticket.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
And also impossible, since the student told Mr. Turkentine earlier that the tickets were specifically hidden in Wonka bars, and that is not a Wonka bar. I know it's the point of this segment, but cheating is still a goddamn sin.
The first girl that finds a golden ticket gets a £1 bonus in a pay packet!
As a 7-year-old child watching this, Jeff Bezos develops his first corporate concept.
19,000 bars an hour they're shelling. 760,000 they've done so far.
Considering that they're in the process of ripping however many open currently, how could Mr. Salt possibly have this accurate of a number?
The great search for Wonka bars continues.
I'm trying to think of anything these days that would have this sort of cultural impact. Like, if Hershey's offered this kind of gig, there'd be some interest in a lifetime supply and a tour of the factory, but they've got a whole theme park dedicated to their stuff. So, well, it'd move the needle in this way currently. If there was an NFT price lower than Sotheby's intended, an unreleased Lady Gaga album from 2011, maybe a limited supply of Channing Tatum nudes?
I will gladly share with it the grand prize. He says, what would a computer do with a lifetime supply of chocolate?
The computer would be awesome at CinemaSins. Televisions meant for purchase are functional and loud enough to be heard through the window of the store in which they're sold in a movie cliche.
Now, this piece of gum here is one that I've been chewing on for 3 months solid, and that's a world record.
But Violet just said she's taking the gum out at mealtime, so there's nothing solid about her gum chewing. If anything, she's been chewing it intermittently for 3 months. And who would mark that down as a record? Either go all the way or go home is what my college girlfriend used to say to me, and I think that applies here.
Charlie, there are 100 billion people in this world.
Intended hyperbole or not, there are nowhere near 100 billion people in the world, and I'm me, so...
After this contest is over, you'll be no different from the billions of others who didn't find one.
Holy Mom. Sure, you've been doing laundry and taking care of 4 bedridden grandparents for the last 20 years, but maybe this is the reason, eh? How about a touch of hope and faith to pass on to your boy? Man, you could at least give him an attaboy or something before he goes back to your depressing domicile, right? The mom sings a song about Charlie cheering up, but it happens directly after she just drops some cold-ass knowledge on his ass. Like, I would really appreciate the motive and execution of this ditty if it had anything to do with her character. Also, maybe Mom would get off from work on time if she didn't waste her time hanging out in the back and singing to no one in particular.
The name soon to be heard around the universe is Mr. Mike TV.
Look, the parents should have known what they were getting in this kid that's addicted to television. You don't think a couple with the last name of Thanos aren't going to expect their progeny to become enthusiasts of chin supplements?
Wait till I get a real one. Colt 45.
Yeah, then if your favorite hockey team plays terribly, you can shoot the TV instead of throwing a wallet at it like a little bitch.
Pop won't let me have one yet, will you, Pop?
Not till you're 12, son.
There's no way there would ever be a state that would take this dialogue seriously as actual policy, since this was a parody even back in the 70s.
Grandpa, that money was for tobacco.
So did he also spend the money on new legs? Because how else, after 20 years of being bedridden, would he be able to get up and walk to the candy store to buy Charlie a Wonka bar? Throwing candy wrappers on your wife for non-sexual purposes.
I have 2,500 here.
Yes, when you think about Willy Wonka and his chocolate factory and the movie that featured it, you definitely think about the auction house scene in which the last box was up for bidding.
Try to stay calm. They did it for ransom. All we can do is wait to hear their demands.
We interrupt this Willy Wonka movie to bring you a very special episode of Columbo, already in progress.
Little boy's got to have something in this world to hope for.
Solid education, fair employment, eventual health care to help nurture his family, romance, comics, political ambition. Oh, you meant this chocolate contest.
Everyone understand?
Math teachers. God damn, this movie is insufferable. I've kind of mentioned it before, but Wonka himself doesn't even show up until over 44 minutes into this thing, and everything before it is awful. The story should have been an hour-long after-school special, but was somehow stretched into a full-length feature. Finding money that could help your family out and choosing to spend it on chocolate. Gluttony.
The kids found the last golden ticket!
Considering the international fervor around this contest, I feel comfortable saddling this scene with a Charlie and the ticket survives this sin. Let's assume the Slugworth impersonator and Wonka knew precisely where to send the bars with the tickets. But how would this guy possibly know that Charlie would be the one to get the ticket, and then know when he would purchase a candy bar, and that this would be the path he would take home? I can buy that faux Slugworth could get to the news conferences in time to talk to Augustus, Violet, and Mike. And maybe he could even be aware enough to know that Mr. Salt had enough cases to be the one who most likely had the ticket that ended up in Veruca's town. But to find and corner Charlie this quickly is all the bullshit. The shaky cam is so bad in this sequence that I'm pretty sure Jason Bourne just vomited.
Says I can take somebody with me. I wish you could go.
Much has been made about Charlie not asking his long-suffering mother to join this escapade, and it's kind of that he wouldn't even offer. But after that bullshit non-pep talk she gave Charlie last night, I don't blame him. Let her stick around here and care for the olds.
I haven't done this in 20 years.
Which means you're a goddamn charlatan. You haven't even tried to get the up on your own 2 feet until you won a chocolate contest? Grandpa Joe and his hairy ears. Man, take one of the grandmas, Charlie, or even the paper salesman. Also, the ensuing song is all about Joe, even though Charlie's done all the work here. Not to mention the mom taking care of his ungrateful ass for this long. How's Joe supposed to be any better than the rest of the asshole kids we see later? If these are bedpans, that answers my earlier question. But also, if they are bedpans, this is way too close to hang your head, and how disgusting does this place smell right now? Oh yeah, just throw a musty coat over that stained nightdress that's covered in what has to be decades of excrement and cabbage soup detritus. Classes the outfit all the way up. Okay, this house isn't huge, but it's plenty big enough to have at least 2 separate beds for the seniors, man. Just because they're bedridden doesn't mean they have to be stacked together like Lincoln logs, does it?
Hi, Billy. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Fish Face. How do I look?
This seems like as good a time as any to remind you the sin, as always, is kids. This montage of the kids waiting outside of the factory makes me really think the movie didn't even want to Willy Wonka. Why is everyone so put off by this guy? Sure, he's got a limp and a bit of resting Wonka face, but he's also spectacularly attired and punctual as hell.
And Mrs. Stevie, how do you do? What an adorable little boy you have.
Pedantry.
We have so much time and so little to see. Wait a minute. Strike that. Reverse it.
I really should take a sin off for this legendary Gene Wilder performance, shouldn't I? Yeah, but it's taken nearly half a pretty average movie to get to it, right? And he's not really playing a good character, he's just playing a bad character really well. What would Wonka himself do in this situation? He gets off on executing children, what am I saying? His sadistic ass would give this 30 cents. Okay, are we supposed to believe Wonka's actually magic, and he cast a spell on these hands? Or that he's got a bunch of employees glory-holing their mitts behind this wall in the service of one simple act of service? Apple updates.
What about me, Grandpa?
Sign away, Charlie. We got nothing to lose.
He's right, of course, but does fatalism run in this family like a male pattern baldness gene or something?
Oh, you should never doubt what nobody is sure about.
I was going to call this a triple negative, but I'm pretty sure this entire statement is a negative. Just because you say some cryptic that sounds witty does not make that witty.
Boys and girls, the chocolate room.
Doctor, who is that? I'll buy that the door that opened into the chocolate room is much bigger than the door that looked like it opened into here, but not that the room that they were standing in while waiting for it to open is that big. I have to admit that I love this song, but I cannot tell whether or not the movie considers itself a musical. Like, this is a delightful tune, but did we really need the Grandpa's Jig or Mom's Lament? This movie seriously cannot properly identify itself, and it's driving me batty. Double dipping.
It's mixing my chocolate. It's actually churning my chocolate.
We know the ultimate purpose of Wonka's plan is to find a successor, but he doesn't know who that will be right now, right? So why is he giving away his trade secrets to people he's pretty sure are suspect? Sure, the kids start dropping like flies shortly, but he doesn't kill them, so chances are they and or their parents will talk at some point.
Snozwankers. For Mrs. Knids. What kind of rubbish is that?
I'm sorry, but all questions must be submitted in writing.
Oh, it. I can't hold out any longer. Gene Wilder absolutely owned the 70s when it came to comedy, and his performance here deserves at least one sin off.
In the greatest of secrecy, I transported the entire population of Oompa Loompas to my factory here.
I don't exactly know what you would call this forcible migration of the Oompa Loompas, even if it was presumably done for their own safety. But I know that even thinking about it makes me uncomfortable, so let's add 10 cents while I make an anonymous donation to the ACLU.
Augustus, please, don't do that. My chocolate must never be touched by human hands.
That doesn't seem like a very good selling point.
Look, but don't touch.
Augustus, grab this!
Charlie really thought that flimsy candy flower would help Augustus? We're supposed to be rooting for Charlie, right?
Suspense is terrible.
He's gonna go this time.
I hope it'll last.
Edgy. Yeah, the Oompa Loompas are psychopaths and have a song queued up for each tragic maiming of a contestant. But what I'm wondering is why the movie goes all electric company for on-screen text when it's never happened to this point. Also, Wonka clearly said the chocolate couldn't be touched by human hands, let alone dipped into by an entire boy of questionable cleanliness. Why are the Loompas even still working on this batch instead of draining the river?
What kind of place you running here anyhow, Wonka?
I don't know what's worse, that this question is asked just now or at all. Where did that gummy bear Violet is holding reappear from? She was shown throwing it to the ground just a second ago. This is a gummy bear of lies. The boat has the correct number of seats for the remaining children and parents, which means if Augustus doesn't fall into the river, there wouldn't have been enough room for everyone. How does no one notice this and not start freaking out immediately? Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
Spitting's a dirty habit.
I know a worse one.
He's almost definitely referring to Violet picking her nose, but the way Wonka says this line makes me think his disgusting, perverted, chocolate-glazed brain has thought up something much worse than we can imagine.
Faster!
Oh, cool, a nightmare boat sequence which serves no purpose in this goddamn story except to permanently damage several generations of children that wanted to watch a simple movie about an eccentric chocolatier.
No touching, no tasting, no telling.
Okay, when they started the tour, Wonka was really excited to say,
And almost everything you'll see is eatable, edible.
But now that they're in a different part of the room that also has candy, they're not supposed to just sample the goods. He didn't specify that the edict from before was just for the first room, so I'm just saying these sorts of mixed messages can lead to the eventual tomfoolery.
What's that for? Gives it a little kick.
I have a feeling they confused the invention room for the spot in the script for Mel Brooks's discarded puns.
What's it do?
Would you like to see?
God, this shot of Gene Wilder has been memed so much that it's almost lost its gloriousness. This is a great comedian during the height of arguably his most indelible performance, and a bunch of blows on the internet had to run the image into the ground. So I'm going to have to send this for those aforementioned blows. But I still love you, Gene.
I wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't.
You know, it's not like Wonka's master plan was to show that kids are greedy and needy and seedy, but he somehow found all the worst kids outside of Charlie to invite to his factory, and it's pretty goddamn annoying.
But your face is turning blue. Violet, you're turning violet, Violet!
She's not. She's turning blue, which is exactly what you just said before choosing to play literary mind games with your daughter. What's wrong with these parents?
I got a blueberry for a daughter!
That line reading sounded like Mr. Beauregard threw his voice into John Candy's Ghost. I can't be certain, but I'm pretty sure this room is where COVID started. I don't care what decade this is, I don't believe for a second that Mr. Salt would let a strange man put a hand on his daughter, no matter how irritating she is.
Let's take a drink, Charlie. Nobody's watching.
What about these characters would lead us to believe they'd sneak a sip of this experimental liquid? They've been model citizens until now, and have witnessed all the other consequences firsthand. The only reason this scene exists is to cause artificial conflict at the end of the movie, and to workshop a few burp noises. It's easy to forget that Charlie is actually the main character of this movie. Title doesn't do us any favors, but having this be the first time there's any focus on Charlie in the last roughly 25 minutes also doesn't help. The movie doesn't know how to protagonist. Even if they were stupid enough to swipe some of the seltzer, they can see the giant death fan at the top of this tube that they're shooting at right...
Mr. Wonka, please turn off the fan! Oh!
A belch of convenience.
Come on, let's get you up to the others.
How do they have a clue where the others are? They've been doing this bullshit on their own for several minutes, and this factory is intentionally a f***ing maze.
It's an educated egg-decator.
We will work the witty wordplay while you woefully wilt away, Grandpa Joe.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose.
Here we go again.
I know, Charlie. And if she doesn't get her way, she will most likely erupt in anger. One could say Veruca Salt is just a volcano girl.
I want one. I want a golden goose.
And just like that, the movie decided a musical again, despite no human singing a goddamn thing since Wonka introduced us to pure imagination.
Veruca! Sweetheart! Daddy's coming!
But why is the chute still open for Mr. Salt to jump into? It closed back up again immediately when the egg went down it.
Is this gonna go fast, Grandpa?
It should, Charlie. It's got more gas in it than a politician.
Grandpa Joe was so quick with this punny response that I assume he's had that one holstered for many years on the off chance someone would cue him up this beautifully.
I shall now send this chocolate bar from one end of the room to the other.
I never realized how convenient all these set pieces are for most of the kids. Maybe Wonka would know a kid who likes to eat chocolate would win at least one of the tickets, but he luckily got a girl as addicted to gum as Violet, a girl as spoiled and stubborn as Veruca, and a boy as addicted to television as Mike is. Yes, it's possible he would have other rooms to use on different fetishes, but this factory is only so big and my addiction is sinning, so...
It could change the world.
No kidding. Between the ability to send food anywhere on the planet and the gum that's a 3-course meal, Wonka could have ended global hunger easily by now. Maybe if he spent less time torturing children and setting up elaborate pranks, he could actually make a difference.
I'm famous. I'm a TV star.
Mike might not be sharp, but he watches a ton of TV and would know that him being seen by 4 people and a few Oompa Loompas did not make him a TV star. Not only is this Oompa Loompa dance in a different rhythm and scale from the other ones, it's totally out of sync and has driven me insane for years, and I can finally sit it.
What happened?
What did you expect? The deal was for a tour of the factory and a lifetime supply of candy. The first part is done, and I'm pretty sure the Oompas could set up the second. Did Charlie go into this expecting to be gifted the entire enterprise?
You lose! Good day, sir!
You're a crook.
Does Grandpa Joe seriously assume zero blame for this outcome? He was the one that prompted Charlie to even try the soda, so he could at least use that to try and reason with Wonka.
Mr. Wonka?
So if Charlie didn't bring the gobstopper back, would he not have won? Even if he did keep the candy, does that mean he would have taken it to Slugworth? He might have just wanted to have it as a treat one day. And what if Joe and Charlie had just left without even confronting Wonka? I know Wonka wanted to make sure, but considering how determined he was to have someone to leave the factory to, could have made the outcome less torturous for Charlie to figure it out. What the is the purpose of this function of the Walkvator? Shatter your roof and let the weather and whatever wild animal is wandering by inside?
That's why I decided a long time ago that I had to find a child.
Are you sure you don't want to strike and reverse that statement?
Whoa, what? You have teeth?
You are not content with the stories, so I was obliged to come.
It's payday, Mr. Jopek.
You're right. There you are.
Thanks.
Say hi to your mother for me, okay? But mixed together in the right way, as only I know how, what do you think it makes?
I don't know, sir.
I like that. I don't know. That's nice. Mr. Hand, will I pass this class? Gee, Mr. Spicoli, I don't know.
All right, what happened?
You all know me. Know how I earn a living.
Would you like us to let go?
Well then, come on, which way?
I believe I can fly! And I can fly, so I believe! Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level, will ya? Do you copy? Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level!
What did you do, Ray?
Oh no, Mr. Big!
No, don't speak.
Please don't speak. Please don't speak. No, 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 go. Go, gentle Scorpio, go.